Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill. Along for the ride is Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers. How are you doing this evening?
Very good. How are you?
Doing well.
Doing well. So, we have wrapped up week 3, and to be nice, there was some scores that kind of got out of hand. There's some teams that are undefeated. There's some teams that are winless and didn't expect it. The one that we expected to be undefeated obviously is undefeated. But we're going to go through all of that after we go through our games. And middle segment's going to talk about which stats stand out the most from what you've seen in this young season so far. Each one of us has our own thoughts on those, so we're going to kind of kick that around a little bit. And then we're going to come up with the predictions for next week's games or week 4 games. And as usual, we are going to go through our lead pipe locks like we normally do and look at the numbers and see how we're doing so far going into this young season. So, if you guys are all ready, we are definitely ready to bring the show to you. And we're going to kick this off with the first game on our list is Detroit hosting New England. And all three of us, we predicted that New England was going to win this one. Mitch predicted Detroit, and he got it right. Detroit took this game 45-8. We are going to start this show off with Dean giving his analysis. Dean?
Well, I think the simple answer is that the Patriots seem to forget how to play offense and forget how to play defense and lacked both. And the Lions were balanced and played very effective offense. They had 37 minutes and a second of time of possession, 73% of third downs completed. And they had over 200 yards rushing, nearly 300 yards passing. They pretty much were able to just do everything they wanted to do. They controlled the ball well. They consistently moved the ball downfield and scored, and they came up with 45 points. And all New England could have messed up as 8 points, which I believe was a touchdown and 2-point conversion. It's I didn't expect that kind of result, and even if Detroit had pulled off what would have been considered an upset, I don't think anyone expected a 45-8 score.
No, we did not. Mitch?
Obviously, I did. I mean, goodness, I'm the one that picked Detroit. Nah, I'm joking. I did not expect Detroit to do what they did, but hey, you know what? Congratulations there to Detroit. The Lions are maybe starting to mature a little bit. We'll see. But they definitely controlled the game from start to finish. A big part, too, was New England's offense just could not get out of their own way in a lot of situations early, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So, way to go, Detroit.
All right. So, moving on to the next game, we have New York Jets hosting Jacksonville, and the Jets, as we kind of figure, they're always going to be on top. They took this one 62-14. Mitch.
Well, the good thing for Jacksonville is that they controlled the clock. They had the ball almost 34 minutes. So if they didn't do that, just what in the world might the score have been? I have no idea. But Mac Jones is proving that, who needs Derek Carr, right? I don't know. But New York scored, I think, every which way you can possibly think of in this game, nearly 600 yards of offense. Just wow. So I'll just leave it at that. So Dean, what do you think about this game?
Now, breaking news: the Jets just scored yet again.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, the only bad thing the Jets did was the fact they missed their only field goal attempt. I mean, that was the only thing I think that went bad for the Jets in this game.
Did the Jacksonville defense just never get off the bus?
I don't
Did
know.
they ever get on the plane?
I don't know.
Made
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was ugly.
Yeah. That was not a
60 yards of offense, 560, 221 rushing, 339 passing.
not pretty. Not
No.
pretty. All right, we're not gonna kick this around anymore. Next game, we have Atlanta hosting Indianapolis, and I would say in a shocker, Indy ended up taking this one 24-20. We are going to start with Mitch on this one.
Yeah, I don't know who all watched this game for its entirety. I did, and I tell you, the big difference here in this game was the fourth quarter. Indianapolis completely just muscled up and just ran the ball and powered the ball just right down the Falcons' throat to put this game away. It was actually for someone who loves running the ball and power football. It was actually a lot of fun to watch. I think I rewound the fourth quarter 3 or 4 times just to get the chills out of my spine. But it was, it was a good, solid game overall. But yeah, that fourth quarter power offense was kind of fun to watch, unless you were a Falcons fan. So we'll turn over to Dean for his thoughts on the game.
Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I think the most notable difference here is third down efficiency. Indianapolis was 73%, 11 of 15. Atlanta was 3 of 10. I'm not sure how the game was as close it was score-wise with that difference. Usually it wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Time of possession is in favor of Indianapolis as well. The total yards gained in offense is 107 difference in favor of Indianapolis. I think maybe on the part of my team, there might have been a couple of big plays that accounted for some of that 20 points, and if it weren't for that, the defense didn't look very good, and the offense was terrible overall. So I'm surprised the game was as close as it was. It certainly didn't look like a 24-20 game when you watched it. It looked more like a 24-7 kind of game when you watched it.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you this: if I'm a team that's playing Indianapolis, or if I was the coach of Indianapolis and I was showing to be able to run the ball like I was, I would consider some a little bit more aggressive passing plays into my playbook, so that teams will be now, I'm sure, be playing the run against Indianapolis. Indianapolis might be able to get some more of those pass medium plays on early downs down the field to really open up the offense. But that's just one person's observation. But we'll let that one sit.
Well, the Indianapolis coach might say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So.
Well, I don't know if you could say it's fixed.
All right, next game that we have on the list is Kansas City hosting Minnesota, and Kansas City taking that one 30-22. We are going to start with Dean on this one, and then pass it over to the coach.
Yeah, I knew this would be a tough game. I knew that Minnesota would be tough, but I did think that Kansas City would have an edge. And if you look at the stats, it pretty much tells that story. Kansas City gained a bit more on offense, a bit better in third down efficiency. But Minnesota did make some plays. But, at the end, Kansas City was just a little bit stronger of the two teams that day and came out ahead on this occasion.
Okay, Coach.
Yeah. It felt good, made up for that week 1 loss. Split the season series with Minnesota, which, to go into the year. That's what, honestly, you hope to do, at least split that series there. So, mission accomplished, and, another week, 30 plus points. So that's something that I'm trying to keep an eye on as well, trying to keep that offense in that 30-point plus range. So, pretty good.
All right. Straightforward, simple, and to the point, I guess. Yeah. So, next game we have is Washington taking on the New York Giants. And did I do that one right? Yep. Washington taking on the New York Giants, and Washington taking that one 37-13. Dean.
Yeah, I think I predicted an upset here with the Giants winning, but I think Jerry was able to get things back on track with the Redskins, and they played a solid game, and they beat the Giants, and maybe that conventional wisdom should have expected that, but they won, and this game was at Washington, so they'll play at New York for the second match, and maybe we'll see what happens. Maybe Washington wins again, or maybe the Giants win and they split the series.
All right, Mitch.
Well, the biggest thing that surprises me about this is the fact that Reichwell Armstead won Player of the Game. All right, you look at his stat line: 5 carries, 19 yards, 3.8 average. Yet he did score 2 touchdowns, and apparently that was good enough to get Player of the Game over Darius Geis, who had 13 carries for 82 yards, a 6.3 yard carry, and also had a touchdown rushing as well. So I don't know who in the world picks these players of the game and stuff, but I say my player of the game for Washington was Geis, and this looked like a Washington type of game, balance on both sides of the field, and victory on the scoreboard.
Okay. Next game that we have on the list is Chicago taking on Anaheim, and Chicago took that one from Anaheim 35-21, and we are going to start with Mitch on this one.
Well, I don't think anyone was shocked by Chicago winning that game, and I think we thought that the score might be a little bit wider based on the first few games of the season for Anaheim, but they were able to get a few breaks in there to keep the score a little closer than what some folks were thinking. Interested to see Justin Fields, I guess, got the starts. I don't know. I'd have to go back and look and see if he was hurt for the game, but he had a huge game nonetheless out there, 4 touchdowns for Fields. So I have to think that Darnold must be hurt, or maybe there's a controversy brewing there in Chicago. We'll see. But Dobbs, definitely no controversy over there with Anaheim. Dobbs started and did not do so hot. But anyway, Chicago wins, no surprise. So, what do you think?
I think the biggest factor in this game was the Anaheim offense was not very effective. And what's happened to Joshua Dobbs this season? He's not looking very solid. The Rams offense was just not very strong. They had 18 minutes and 32 seconds time of possession. They only completed half the third downs, only 268 yards total. So, that I think helped Chicago dominate a bit. And they won by 2 touchdowns. Maybe that's not as dominant as you expect as far as the score goes. But they had 41 minutes and 28 seconds of time of possession. They converted 71% of the third down. So, and had good balance through rushing and passing. So, it was a pretty solid balanced effort by Chicago.
All right. Next game that we have on our list is Seattle visiting New Orleans. And again, Seattle taking another L, 27-17. We're going to start with Mitch on this one.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily it was a shocker that New Orleans won. Um, Actually, I thought they might score fewer points. It might be a little bit tighter game. But, I would say Seattle showed some signs of life after a rough first 2 weeks of the season, but still a ways to go. Overall, though, New Orleans, old, Thor himself, continued to have a strong season, another 3 touchdown game, a 300-yard game, and New Orleans. If anyone has doubted New Orleans, stop because these guys are for real. Playoffs last year, 2-1 this year. The one loss came, one scoring game opening week. Um, these guys, old Coach Perez has this team going good. So congratulations to New Orleans.
All right, Dean.
I think the biggest difference here in this game is that some of the stats are pretty close, and the score is only 10 points difference. I think perhaps the difference maker here, as much as the Anaheim-Chicago game was the failure of the Rams' offense, I think here the key issue is the success of the Saints' defense. The Saints play really tough defense, and the one stat line that stands out here is the 8 sacks of Zach Wilson. And as we saw in the Super Bowl, when you get your quarterback sacked 8 times, it's pretty tough to win a game that way.
I would agree to that. And as we discussed pre-show and as I looked at it, 24 sacks on the season. Offensive line is not doing their job, and definitely that needs to get shored up and with the quickness. So as we come down to the final 2 games, next one that we have on the list is LA hosting Pittsburgh, and excuse me, and LA taking this one 28-25. We are going to start with Dean on this one.
Yeah, this is a tough game that it looked like either team could win. They both had pretty good third down efficiency here, and I just remember as I watched the game, it just seemed like the team that was scored the last one ended up winning, and I think that the Chargers scored the last time. So this game could have gone either way. But so it's Pittsburgh kind of did just about everything they needed to do to win, but actually win. So don't be surprised in the coming weeks to see Pittsburgh win a couple of games.
All right, Mitch.
Well, Pittsburgh definitely controlled the ball. I mean, 36 minutes of the game definitely showed that they could play keep away pretty well on that side. But they couldn't overcome that Superman, Deshaun Kaiser. I tell you what, boy, what a player, what a winner. Every time you think he's down and out, he comes back and pulls a rabbit out of the hat. 4 touchdowns in this game definitely was enough to squeak out a victory. And like Dean said, you look at the numbers and you go, man, maybe should have lost, but they did not. So, congratulations to Kaiser and company, and we'll see how Pittsburgh moves forward after this game.
All right. Last game for week 3. We have San Francisco hosting Las Vegas, and after San Francisco riding high on their last victory, definitely came down to earth a bit because Las Vegas took this one 24-13. Mitch.
Well, everyone knows how great Mitch Trubisky is, for crying out loud. I mean, so no one should be surprised when a Mitch Trubisky-led team, is able to pull out victories. Just kidding for those who follow real-life NFL football. But anyway, a great win for Las Vegas. I know that they've been looking for that signature win, and this could constitute a signature win over one of the all-time great coaches in the league. And so, congratulations there to the Raider Nation, and we'll see if they can keep things going here going forward. What do you think about this one, Dean?
Well, one of the stats I'm seeing here that's really key is they forced the 49ers to punt 6 times. That's huge. And the time of possession was about even. But I remember as I watched the game that the Las Vegas defense looked pretty solid. The Raiders were stopping the 49ers quite a few times in defense. Again, they forced them to punt 6 times, and they scored enough to get the win. And, they scored 24 points. It's not a bad output. You may remember when Jerry was on the show, he was talking about his goal was to hold the other team to fewer than 20 points and his team to score more than 20 points. And in that sense, the Raiders did exactly that.
Okay.
Yes, Dean, they did. And what's interesting too about this particular matchup is the fact that, you know, I would say neither team had a big number of first downs. I think Vegas had 18, which typically would be on the low side of first downs. San Francisco had 14, and so it was definitely a grinded out kind of style of play. I think for both teams trying to control the ball, but neither team really out controlled the other. I mean, each team had the ball, about 30 minutes each. So we'll see. We'll see how that continues going forward.
But the Raiders just made better use of their opportunities and scored more.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. The Raiders outscored the 49ers.
I believe they scored 3 touchdowns as part of that 24, and you're looking at 13 points. I think that probably included a touchdown and 2 field goals.
Yep.
All right.
So the Raiders just made better use of their opportunity. Yeah, that's correct. The 49ers had two field goals, so the Raiders just made better use of their opportunities.
All right. So, as we come to wrap up that week 3 games, we're going to pivot over to the middle segment, and this one's going to cover basically as we look at the season so far. Still a young season. Looking at what stats stand out to you guys the most. Is it stats in passing, stats in rushing? In fact, Seattle's given up 24 sacks this season so far, and I think the next closest team gave up 10. So just kind of both of you guys talk about it a little bit and point out as far as what the stat lines look, what stood out to you this much or stood out so far. So we started the first segment off with Dean. We're going to start this middle one off with Mitch.
Yeah, well, you've already highlighted one that I pointed out to you in pre-show today. Yeah, one stat that has jumped out at me, and it's kind of by accident as I was looking through some of the stat lines, was the number of sacks that Seattle has given up this year, and so. And it's not as much the number of sacks they've given up because everybody, early in the season, you can have a really bad game, give up 8 or 10 sacks to a team because you're not quite ready, and it's going to get blown off. But as Mark said, Seattle's given up 24 sacks. The next closest team has only given up 10. And so, as we were kind of talking early on the pre-show today, that's probably a symptom of a few things. One, probably need to readjust some of the play types that are in the playbook for Seattle. But it also could mean that Seattle really has to adjust, and this would go for anybody that is seeing some similar type of issues, that if you're giving up a bunch of sacks, that's a good chance that you're finding yourself in third and long situations quite a bit, or those second and over 10 situations quite a bit, where teams are probably going to be blitzing a lot more. And so I know that as Mark was looking at some of the stuff, he noticed a few things that might might validate that. But definitely something that Seattle will need to clean up here to make the last 3 quarters of the season, or close to 3 quarters of the season, more productive. And so it's good to catch those trends early so you can make the adjustments. But that's one that has stood out to me. Dean, what about you? What's standing out to you so far?
What's standing out to me is you look at at the end of last season, there were two teams that had a running back over 1,000 yards. And when you look at the team rushing this year, those two teams happen to be ranked 15th and 16th in team rushing. So, and those two teams happen to be playing here this weekend. So it's clearly neither one is having very much success with running the ball. You look at those numbers, 243 yards for one, 241 yards for the other, right? 15th and 16th. Chicago is the leading team in rushing with 490. So the two teams that had 1,000-yard running backs last season have less than half of the team rushing that Chicago has.
Which, going back, kind of how you can piece some stats together to help you analyze your team's performance. You put Seattle's inefficiency in running the football, probably something that a team like Seattle would try to do early on, on first and second down. If they're not moving the ball on the ground, they're putting themselves in those third and long situations. They're getting blitzed, hits. Zach Wilson has been sacked 24 times, and Seattle has had trouble scoring. So I think you put those stats together, and it kind of helps tell a story of what might be going on.
That may be going on in both teams, and maybe the Falcons are a little bit better at playing chuck and duck offense than the Seahawks, but it's certainly not showing for either one of us in the win-loss record or the team rushing stats.
Yeah, I would say I've seen that in some of these Falcons games that I've watched, where a lot of the passing yardage for Atlanta has come on like 2nd and 15, or third long, where you get some of those razzle dazzle plays, especially after or under the 5-minute mark of a half. I've caught some teams off by that. So, maybe some early down tweaking could help both teams sustain some of those drives. What about you, Mark? What's the stat that's really stepping out at you? You can't say the Seattle 24 sacks, not even used. So what's standing out to you, Mark?
Well, what I see is, for me, I look at the rushing is one of them. I look at Atlanta. Sorry to pick. I know Atlanta likes to run the ball a bit more. Their numbers aren't as high as where Chicago is at 400. And the passing, I look at the passing yards. Pittsburgh just come into the league. He's already at 609 yards. He's moving up. Well, I mean, you have Anaheim at almost 1,000 yards already, but I see the newcomers coming in, and they're already starting to set a trend over some of the veteran teams that are out there. Not to pick on Kansas City, but Kansas City's at 575. Pittsburgh's at 609 right now. So that's something that stands out. I'm looking at the new coaches coming in and seeing what type of impact that they're making in the league so far. And I think they're doing quite well. Look at Indy. Indy's at 570. It's a start. They're getting there. But I think overall, I think the young guy, the newer coaches, are definitely starting to make themselves known in this league here. It's easy to get overwhelmed as we've gone through all the different steps within the league, as far as off-season, drafting, training camp, so on and so forth. But I think that they're up and coming. I look at Vegas. Who would have thought? they're trending upward. They're going to make an impact. They're not going to end up, I hate to say it, like Seattle at 0-3, but I think they're going to make their impact this season. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't even be surprised to see the Raiders make a playoff spot. But, maybe too premature to say that, but it's certainly in the range of possibilities. I think they're definitely going to win some games, and the young roster of players is playing pretty well at this point.
Right now, if you look at Indy, like I just pulled up the standings. So you have Indy sitting at 2-1. You have Vegas sitting at 2-1. Pittsburgh's at 0-3, but they're not. There's a few little things that they need to tweak, I think, to put them in where they need to be. Hell, they put up more points than me. So, but
they're probably the strongest 0-3 team we've seen in a while, and they're going to win some games.
Yes, they're going to win some games. They're figuring it out, but the one that really surprises me is Vegas. Coming out there, and Indy. Both of them are surprising. I think that they probably teams that predicted them to be further, probably in the bottom, but they're in the thick of it right now. So even though the season's still young, a lot can happen. But those two impressed me the most.
Yeah, I would say this. I agree. I love the fact that we've got a newer crop of coaches, and I'm not just thinking about Donovan that just came in this year, but the coaches have come in over the last 3 or 4 seasons. That would include yourself, Mark, and I still think I don't know why, but I still think of Mox as a new coach. He's been in the league now for a few good seasons here, but that there's that competitiveness.
Mox, if I'm not mistaken, Mox came in the same time I did because he pulled me in.
Really? Okay.
Yep, we both came at the same time.
Feels like he's been around longer than that, even though he's still newer out there. But I would just say, just let's be careful of crowning some of these teams this early, because even when you look at their numbers right now, right? Indianapolis 2-1, like I said, great finish to the game this past season. We're still looking at a point differential of 4 points. Vegas 2-1. I agree. I thought that win over San Francisco was very strong. They actually have a negative point differential right now starting the season. Pittsburgh definitely played the defending champs tough, give them all they could handle. And I'm sure they're going to use it as a jumping point for the rest of the season. They got almost a 40-point negative point differential that are out there. And I know point differentials, there's a lot of reasons that can be skewed and whatnot out there. So I'm not naive to that point. But let's see how this thing plays out here the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And when we get about mid-season, then we can say, all right, which one of these newcomers has probably got the best chance at that playoff right now. But I'm not disagreeing that we've got some folks off to nice starts, but let's be careful before we start throwing around that playoff word for these teams yet. That's just my cautionary take.
I think week 4 is going to give us some indication of what direction some of these teams are going to go in. So after 4 weeks over the quarter of the season, look at where we talk about it next week, and I think we'll start to get a better idea of how some of these teams are going to do this season.
Potentially, yes.
Yep, I agree with you on that as well. So I think as we wrap that up, I think that kind of points out a lot of where the coaches are or where the teams are this season. And even though, again, the season is still early, we're not discounting that, but definitely some trends are starting to form a little bit. And we'll see what happens in the upcoming weeks as we go through it. So as we head into the final turn of this week's games, we are coming up to the upcoming games for week 4, and it looks like there's some pretty good games out there. Again, as we talked in the pre-show, sorry we had to cook up the possum a little bit, so he is no longer with us, but we do have Rich Sporting Books, and his numbers. We're going to go ahead and use those as we come in for our prediction. Again, each one of us has a lead pipe lock. I had one, and I think I'm going to change my lead pipe lock when it comes down to it. So we're going to see what's going to happen. So first game on the list, we have the New Orleans Saints hosting the New York Jets. The sporting books gives them 13.5. We are going to start this one off. Well, let's see. First one was Dean. So now we'll rotate the next week. We'll do the next one. We'll start this one off with Dean.
Yeah, I think this one is easy to pick. I think it's going to be it's definitely going to be all the Jets. Jets are going to win this one easily. Cover the spread, win. Another big win. Until proven otherwise, they're going to continue picking the Jets every week.
All right, Mitch.
Well, I definitely will go with the Jets, but I think it's going to be closer than what Dean expects it to be. Anyhow, I don't know what the score will be, but I think New Orleans is definitely going to give the Jets a much better game than what they've had to play here recently. So we'll go with the Jets though overall.
All right, I am picking the Jets on this one as well. Next game, Jacksonville hosting New England. They are giving New England 7.5. We are going to start this one off with Mitch.
Oh, jeez. This would be the classic upset ambush game right here. Jacksonville coming off an embarrassing loss. New England coming off an embarrassing loss. Oh my gosh! You know what? I'm gonna go Jacksonville just because I want to be different than everybody else. I'm gonna go Jacksonville.
All right, you're going with Jackson.
Sometimes different means being wrong. I think in this case, for Jacksonville, they're going to come into the stadium and someone's going to say, "Did you hear that the Jets just scored again?" So, I mean, it's very clearly, in my view, Patriots are going to win. I won't quite make it a lead pipe lock, but I would say you can make a safe bet on saying the Patriots will win and cover the spread.
There's one thing you got to remember, though. One thing you got to remember: New England is not the Jets. I'll just say that.
Okay, I'll keep mine simple. I'm riding with Coach Mox this week, so I'm going for New England. Next game we have Pittsburgh hosting KC, and they are giving KC 13.5. Is it too big or not big enough? We're going to start with Dean on this one.
I think Pittsburgh will probably score a few upsets this season. It just won't be this week. Chiefs are going to win and cover.
All right. Coach?
Well, I mean, on the previous segment, I think both of y'all said that Pittsburgh is the best 0-3 team y'all have seen, in the league since, maybe 2017. So I'm really not sure how this is going to play out. But I guess I'll pick my team because I got to pick somebody. So go with KC, but we'll see how this turns out.
All right. I am riding also with KC this week. I think, again, Pitt is the best 0-3 team out there. But, well, second best. But I think this week it's going to be KC. Next game.
That's a rare bit of confidence from Coach Mitch Holtz.
Yeah, exactly. I was expecting him to be honored to be on the playing field with the upstart team. Who knows?
Well, like I said, I'm not sure which way to pick. I mean, if they're the best 0-3 team since 2017, like I said, if I got to pick somebody, I'll pick myself. But I don't know. We'll see.
But still 0-3 though. Maybe the best, but that's still 0.
Negative 50-point differential. Well, what's that?
All right. Next game we have Washington taking on LA. They are giving Washington 4.5 on the spread. And we are going to start off with Mitch on this one.
I like the Redskins. I think they're gonna, I think their week 2 wake up call is. I think Jerry put it to me a little bit in email when he and I played. Definitely will keep him rolling here, and I think it will be a Redskins victory.
All right, Dean.
I was wanting to pick an upset here and pick the Chargers, but the Chargers just barely get by Pittsburgh, and the Redskins look very solid against the Giants. So this is definitely a win and covering the spread for Washington. It's only a 4.5 spread. That may not be enough. I would say Washington wins by at least a touchdown or more.
All right. In this game, I moved my lead pipe lock around. I had another game that I was going to use, but I decided to change it up, and I am going to go with Washington on this one as my lead pipe lock for this week. Next game, the two hosts, the host rivalry game, Atlanta versus Seattle. They are giving Atlanta 7.5. I don't know, the Seattle team, they're cooking up a special meal for the Atlanta staff as some hospitality since they're playing in Seatown. And, we're going to go out and get some nice food for them, pull, fresh fish and crabs and, salmon and everything else. And we're going to give them a nice little meal before the game. So we are going to start with Dean. Or actually, we're going to start with, let's start with Mitch on this one.
I mean, I might have missed something, but did you just say that Seattle was going to give Atlanta crabs when they came up there? I might have missed that. I wasn't sure what you were talking about.
Yes, Alaskan snow crabs.
I'm sorry.
Alaskan snow crabs is a very nice delicacy, or the king crab, even better.
Okay, gotcha. Well, all right. Well, everybody, if y'all don't know this, I'm 3-0 this season on my lead pipe locks. I'm right now leading the way between the three hosts in my picks. So when I tell you, get out the third mortgage, put all your credit card debt in the middle of your table, and put everything you've got on this team, I'm about to say, it's good, it's gold, you can take it, and, you put your blood pressure medicine away because it's going to be good. This game is going to go to the Seahawks. Lead pipe lock.
Did not see that one coming. Very good. See, you know what? We're going to give them some extra nice meals, going into this now. So we're definitely going to take care of them this week. So, Dean.
Yeah, I think this matchup is like the fear and loathing game of the season, and unfortunately, Hunter S. Thompson isn't alive anymore to tell us what's going to happen. I think Jerry Glanville was asked for comments in this game, and he was unavailable. I don't think he's interested in commenting either. So I will say that the visiting team is going to win, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, he is going with the visiting team. And that's Seattle, right? You're picking Seattle, right?
I thought the game was at Seattle.
Just trying to trip you up a little bit, All right, next game we have Las Vegas going into Detroit, playing Detroit. Actually, Las Vegas is hosting Detroit, correction. This is a tight spread, 3.5 on this one. So, I had Mitch start the last one, so I'm going to start with Dean on this one.
I think the Raiders are playing a pretty fundamentally sound game plan on both sides of the ball, and they're showing good balance, and they're each week getting just a little bit better at what they're doing, and they're sticking with it. And, Detroit has been very inconsistent up and down. I'm going to go with the safe bet here, and I am going to make it a lead pipe lock. The Las Vegas Raiders come up with a win this weekend.
Okay. Mitch.
I tell you what, I think there's going to be a lot of teams that are going to, or a lot of the money is going to say, "Hey, Detroit just had that big win. Let's load up on Detroit." I would say be very cautious. I'm going to go like the rest of y'all. I'm going Vegas in this game, and I think the home field will play a part in that. But I do think it's going to be a tight game. I do. I think it's going to be a tight game. It could come down to a last possession type of situation.
Okay. Next game, we have Chicago going up against the Giants. They are giving Chicago 17 and a half on this one. Mitch. Oh, wait a minute. Let me back up. I am picking Vegas on the previous one. I think I left that out. I am going for Vegas.
Yes.
Next. All right. Chicago and the Giants. Mitch.
Yeah. I am not giving up on the Giants yet. I know they stumbled against the Redskins, but they did have two impressive wins to start the season. However, they're not going to beat Chicago. I don't think anyway. I think it'll be a close. I think it'll be closer than the spread, but Chicago is going to win this game.
Okay. Oh, let me jump back two games because on the Atlanta Seattle game, I'm picking the Hawks. So
I don't think anybody had to. I don't think we had to stop the show for that. I think
everybody knew that one
already.
All right.
Yeah. You'd have that as your lead pipe lock if we allowed ourselves to pick our own team.
Exactly. Well, they saw it on the screen as it popped up with Seattle, so I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, especially after you're going to be feeding the Falcons crawfish and whatever.
No, that's Louisiana. Crawfish, Louisiana.
Yeah, something that you were doing with them. I don't know.
Alaskan king crab legs, and salmon, and some good stuff out there. So there you go. All right, back to this. Chicago and the Giants. So, Mitch, you are picking
Chicago. Go with Chicago.
All right, Chicago.
But I think it's going to be closer than the experts think, but I'm going with Chicago.
All right, Dean.
I want to remind you all that no one has played Chicago tougher in regular season matchups, especially among NFC teams, than the Giants. So I'm going with the upset. I'm not saying that Chicago's not going to cover the spread. I'm just picking outright the upset. The Giants are going to win this weekend. Take it to the bank.
Okay. I am picking Chicago on this one. I don't think that they're going to beat the spread, but I am predicting Chicago to win this one. Last two games, we have Indianapolis taking on San Francisco, and we have San Francisco with a 6.5 points on this one, and we are going to start this one with Dean.
It's real simple. If the Colts can beat the Falcons, they can beat the 49ers. Indianapolis wins, covers the spread. Actually, no, the spread goes either way. Indianapolis is going to win. It's upset. They're going to win.
Okay. Direct and to the point. Mitch.
I disagree, and I believe San Francisco will win this game. As much as I loved watching the fourth quarter of the last game the Indianapolis had, I don't think they're going to be able to put it back-to-back weeks like they did. So I'm going to go with San Francisco.
Okay. I am going to go with Indianapolis. I think that it's going to be an upset. I think Indy is starting to get everything together. And I think that they're in the battle of 2-1 teams. I think they're going to prevail on this one. So, last game for week 4, we have Minneapolis taking on Anaheim. They are giving Minneapolis 14.5. Huge numbers. So we're going to wrap this one up with Mitch.
Well, when I think about this game and I think about Minnesota, I've been predicting, the return of Minnesota for a few seasons. And I believe, as Eminem once sang, Shady's back. Well, I think Barney is back, and he's going to rebound from our game this past weekend, and he's going to cover this spread, and Minnesota is going to win this game. Um, they're going to win this game pretty handily, I believe.
Okay.
That's a fact.
So you know.
That's it. Yeah.
All right. So
So
and
Minnesota for me. There you go.
all right. So Dean, what do you have?
I'll say not so fast. I think this is a bump in the road that that Barney's comeback tour is going to run into. I think the Anaheim Rams are definitely looking to finally get their first win and turn some things around. I see the upset here. The Rams are going to win.
Okay.
That spread is way too huge, but I'm not just saying that the spread won't be covered. The Rams are going to win. This is an upset.
Rams going to win as an upset. Okay. I am going to wrap this show up at the last one, and I'm going to predict Minnesota is going to take this one. I do not believe the spread is going to be 14.5. I think it's going to be much closer. Probably about 7 between them. But I am predicting Minnesota on this one.
Now, y'all remember, Minnesota took the best 0-3 team since 2017 to the woodshed a couple of weeks ago. So if this 0-3 team is worse than the other 0-3 team, y'all are predicting this 0-3 team to do better against Minnesota than we'll see. We'll see.
Wait a minute. I predicted Minnesota, did I not?
Yeah, but you said lower than the spread.
I don't think they're going to beat the spread.
Okay. All right. Okay. Very good.
I don't think so. I think it's going to be a closer game than that.
Okay.
All right, guys. As we come to wrap this up, I think we had some fun on this one. Looking at some items out there. As far as we come to wrapping this up, I'm thinking that my advice to the coaches, as well as myself, take a look at those points as far as what the scores are. Look over everything, make sure all your stuff is lined up, and do your proper planning, including Seattle. So, as we come,
and one plug too, Mark, because I know that some of the emails have been flying around and different things and whatnot. Please, everybody, and I do it too. All right, so I'm putting myself on the block as well. Please double check your profiles before you turn them in, so that we avoid having some of these profile errors which cause delays in the games and all this kind of stuff. I know we got a lot of copy pasting going on that sometimes gets in the way. So just double check, maybe, and so that we avoid any issues during or after the games. Just put that plug out there.
Yes, I will second that. Be careful with your copy and pasting. I made the mistakes. I think we've all made the mistakes. Double check them. For me, I think I'm come to the point where I am done with copy and pasting.
The problem with the copy and paste is when you go to change your second down settings, it automatically has first down clicked as if it assumes you want to change those as well. And on our system, you don't want to do that because we have pass short, medium, pass medium, middle for second down, and we have pass short left and pass medium left for first down. So I think that's the biggest problem with the copy and paste.
I use copy and paste a lot, and and I don't say, and I think you got to keep using, otherwise I think forever to do your profiles. But to Dean's point, just make sure that when you're done, that it is what you wanted it to be, because sometimes it will carry over scenario from one to the next. And
before you click that OK button or whatever it is, make sure it's not checking down situations which you aren't intending to change. Like you edit your second and 10 settings, make sure it isn't also changing your first and 10 settings to the same thing. And that applies to both offense and defense. And that's like a a glitch in the game that they put in there, and I think it's the biggest cause of these copy and paste problems that we're having in the profile editor.
That's right, because if you are, like you were saying, editing your first and 6 to 10s and doing copy and paste, and then you go back and you start, adjusting your second and 6 to 10s, when you click, the copy paste, it has the second and 6 to 10s check, but it still has that first down radio button check too. You got to make sure to uncheck that first down so it doesn't screw it up.
Yeah,
That's right.
definitely.
Because I made that last season. I went to watch one of my games, and a PSM play, which is pretty good for second down, terrible for first down, kept getting called on 1st and 10, and it was for that very reason.
Yeah. And that's another good point too, as I know different folks have different timetables and you can't watch, games maybe fully or however you prepare for it. But before you turn in your final stuff to Rich, watch one of your games at least from start to finish, because that's usually where I've caught my goofy profile mishaps, is when it's like you said, all right, why am I in the red zone on first down, but I'm calling a pass short right play? What the heck? And then you go and you look, and somehow or another, you somehow copy the 3rd and 2 to 5 scenario into your 1st and 10 inside the red zone or something. So, yeah, that's another recommendation I'd make.
Yeah, I can't stress that point enough. Watch at least one game each week before turning in your game plans. Probably more, but at least one, because that is where you're going to catch those errors.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So we are coming up.
Not to deride or to derail the show there, but I know that's been coming up a lot here. The last couple of weeks.
That's something that needs to be added.
PSA out there for us. So.
Yep. So as we are coming to wrap up the show, we are coming up on an hour. I thought we were talking about 35, 40 minutes, gentlemen. We just tend to
Do you want to go for 2? We can go for 2 if you want.
No. Then they'll tune out.
So good for an hour and 10 minutes?
No, we're tuning this out. We're fading it out right now, gentlemen. So as we come to wrap this show up, any final words you have over there, Dean?
It's good luck in your games this weekend, everyone.
All right, Coach Holtz.
Let's get it.